1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello, and may the 4th be with you. Today is a very special episode, which I'm going to do live with a view to helping you with your automation journey. Now, this is going to be a live demo, so there's a 50-50 chance that it may work and it may not work. So, stay with me. I'll try and do this. It's probably going to be about an hour, depending on how things go, and then I'll cut it down for the podcast series. So what I thought I'd try and do today is I thought I'd try and test some mobile devices using UFT, so Unified Functional Tester. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually run this all the way through. So I'm going to install it, I'm going to download it, install it, and configure it and set it up. Obviously there's going to be some interesting challenges during that, but part of that is the learning curve, and also I'm going to hopefully, whilst we got those fillers, I will try and give you some tips and tricks anyway. So let's kick it off. So if I go onto my screen, you're not going to have to worry, we're not going to do VR, as much as that would be fun. We'll save that for another time. So I have literally, as you can see here, I've gone to the Micro Focus website. I've typed in free trial, clicked on the free trial button, and then gone to UFT. And then what I've done is I've selected that I want to download UFT 1. It's now appeared in my download section, and then now I've downloaded it, which obviously I've saved you the trouble of seeing the 4 gig. So as that's downloaded, let me just go into my temporary files. I've got it extracted into this directory. So things have changed over the years with the installer, but we'll go through that while we're waiting for the installer to install. So brand new install. I'm guessing the top one, even though that is, that's the UFT add-in for ALM setup. Okay, so I'm going to hit UFT. Are you sure you want to do this? Yep. So it's going to ask me for a few prerequisites for 15.0.1. So it's going to install Access Database, which is great. I need some MDB files, and then whatever else it needs to install based on running the latest version of Windows 10. So welcome to the installer. I accept. Obviously I've read the terms and conditions. I want to be part of the improvement program. Do I want the ALM plugin? No. Do I want UFT developer? Well, I'll install it. I do have Visual Studio Enterprise Edition on here, so we'll see. It's now bumped up my overall size. Delphix? No. Do I need Oracle, PeopleSoft, Terminal emulation add-ins? I like the idea of the PDF viewer. Let's get that installed. 537k. Okay, so it's going in the standard directory. Right, the following add-ons will be added in. Fine. Okay, so it's detected 2017, which must be what I've got on there, and IntelliJ. I think I have got Eclipse on here, but I'll not do that. So full installation. It obviously does support Visual Studio 2019, which is end of life for coded UI. Configure Internet Explorer for me. Great. Allow them to run remotely. No. So I'm going to let that download, and I'm just going to close this window. I'll take this URL, which I'm going to use to test in a second. So let's close those because it may want to stick hooks into the browser. So let me just paste this URL into here for me for later. Okie dokie. So we're getting the installation, and now we can watch that go, which is not very exciting, but it is showing that it's installing live. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to try and do today, which will probably I'll fail at doing, but I'll give it a go anyway. So the first thing is I've plugged into here a iOS device. So I've got a iPad mini plugged in, which is actually running the 13.5 beta 2 instance, which for some unknown reason it doesn't tell me now what version I've got. Even if I click on the info, it just doesn't give you much info on here, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that's running the latest and greatest version of the Apple iOS with the COVID Bluetooth capability. So I've got iTunes installed, which is a prerequisite, which UFT tells you to do anyway to make sure your device is connected. So that's all good. And then we'll also see here that I've got an Honor 8S, which is also connected. So I've got an Android device connected as well, and we'll see how that one goes as well. So it's running. This is not my main computer, as surprise, surprise. So it's probably not got as much performance in there. But you can see it's kind of ticking along. I'm guessing there's some of the MSI installers that are running in the background there for UFT. Hopefully that will install at some point in time. So yeah, so I've plugged in the both devices, and then the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to try a web page. Now we all know Selenium supports, or Selenium W3C supports browsers, and does a fairly good job of it. But we also know that it only supports browsers. So one of the examples I'm going to hopefully do here is I'm going to try and load this JSON file, which is here, by browsing through the Explorer tree, and to kind of show you that it's supporting apps that are outside of your standard browser. And as this goes between mobile, browser, and platform, you get to see kind of how it's supporting multiple platforms at the same time, and not just using one technology adapter such as Selenium. So hopefully this will install at some point in time, but while it's running in the background, I'm going to give you some other tips around things that you can do. So let me just move this out of the way. So first of all, I'm going to refer back to my Automation Guild presentation, which is 4 years old, I think now. So I'd recommend if you go to Automation Guild conferences. If we go into here, you can see actually it's running still installed in the background, just to kind of give you an idea. You can watch any of these on demand, so you don't have to have watched them live. You can watch these sessions, and as Iran, who's a good friend, you can watch any of those on demand. That's happened in the past, and as you can see here, there's a video example. So Automation Guild, if we go back to 2017, we should have, here we go. So this was my it's not going anywhere. Good job on testing Joe's website. But yeah, we're talking about this particular session which I did, which is worth, for the price of getting access, it's definitely worth watching. But I'm going to give you a few bits which are relating to the Micro Focus stack and how kind of it's evolved over the time. So it still is now copying files, which shouldn't actually take that long. So I'll just move that slightly out of the way. So yeah, download, check out Joe's stuff. I know he's got, if we go up to the Performance Guild 2020, we should, there'll be some, I'm speaking around digital experience analytics. So definitely worth checking that out, and I'll try and do a performance virtual clinic. So this is a kind of an automation clinic, just to kind of give you an idea of how you can get started with some of the Micro Focus tool sets. So talking of Micro Focus tool sets, I'm just going to skip through to kind of give you a bit of background of where they've come and where this journey's kind of gone as well. So let's have a look. I think this is probably a good slide to show you as a bit of a preview. So these tool sets around originally the Mercury and then the Mercury Interactive tool sets, still going on, started back in the 90s. So I remember using this, what looks like Excel and still is Excel, version of Test Director, all the way through to the latest versions, Agile Managers kind of being morphed into Octane now. But there's been multiple iterations of tooling. So since I started in the 90s, obviously things look very different. So some of the bonus material which didn't get included is I started with the WinRunner XRunner platforms. So in this Automation Guild presentation, you'll see that I install a version of WinRunner 9.2 onto an old version of XP and show you how, in theory, you could automate the stuff that we're automating today using the Firefox system. So here's it installed. So prior to becoming UFT, originally it was Astra Quick Test, so it was owned by a separate company which Mercury acquired, and that became QTP, Quick Test Professional, which is now what we class as UFT. So things have moved on massively since those days. So if I kind of show you what it used to look like, and then at least you can see the difference between now and what we're doing, which is just finished installing then. So if we go back to so this is a version of WinRunner. As you can see WinRunner there, and to give you an idea of, I used to have plugins that I used to write libraries to support additional functionality within your WinRunner stack. So anyway, so a bit of a brief tour of what it used to look like, and then now we can have a look at what it looks like today. So it's finished installing. So open README, I think I might be okay for the time being. Right, so we should have a version of UFT installed. So there's UFT 1. I'm going to run on the 30-day trial, which obviously anyone could do. You can see down here what it's already set up. Now I'm going to want the mobile version so I can connect to the mobile. There's some extra technologies in here. UI automation. We'll probably need to touch on to that one as well. And so yeah, so I've added in my plugins at the start, which is obviously when I talked about hooks, that's what the hooks are for various different versions. It's asking me for some Windows AC stuff, which I've given access, and now we have the actual application, as you see, we've not launched it before. We can go into here, 15.0.1 build 1068. Not as good as 1069, but never mind. So we got some system information, which will give you all our information about what we're running on. But for this example, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see how far the mobile installer's got. So open an application on a mobile device. So I'm going to go to options first. I'm just going to have a look when it comes to the UI testing. Have we got everything set up? API testing, BPT testing. We got the basic functionality there. Run sessions, network virtualization. We got pretty much everything you would expect installed. So I'm just going to go to GUI testing and then mobile, connect to UFT mobile, connect to a local device. So I'm going to run this on a local device, port 8080, test the connection, and hopefully we'll get a little tick. No, failed to connect to local device connector. So as I kind of expected, we're going to have to do an installer for that to run as well. So if we go back into our installation, we should see additional components. So these are additional components for third party. It kind of gives you an idea of what they're using for their AI stack. Here's the AI installer, which we will install just to show you how that one works. But we should also have a installer for the actual mobile center, local mobile thing. And I've got a feeling they're going to push us back to the website to actually do this installation and download it from the marketplace, which is a bit of a challenge, but we'll give it a go. So focus marketplace. Okay, this is true style of downloading things on the fly. So, and what I'm looking for in the marketplace would be UFT mobile. UFT mobile. UFT testing, UFT mobile connections, UFT mobile add-in for local device. So that's what I want. It's got 2 reviews. I think one of them's probably me, as I did have some challenges with it. We can see there's some versions. This version seems to be quite out of date still. So this is 13.3 December 2019. I think I've actually used this version. So I'm going to have to log in with my username. Now it is confusing because there's so many different user logins for so many different systems, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Jonathan, right? I'll probably find that can't get in. Nope. Okay, I'm sure it's that username. Okay, now it seems to saying to me it needs an active contract required to download this, but we'll give it a go. So 1.7 gig. I'll download that. Now there was a few different versions of this, so you know, part of it is you have to make sure you've got the latest version. So obviously this kind of came out in February, August, and it's saying 3.3 UFT mobile 3.3. Click on UFT mobile, which is a kind of a variation of the so this is what was Mobile Center. Okay, so whilst we're waiting for that to download, I'm going to flick back into here and I'm going to load in the AI installer. Now, I think I might have just bypassed the setup wizard, but I'm sure it's fine. So we're going to install the AI stuff, and I can show you a little bit about how that works. So So I've also selected the AI engine as well as the AI codeless testing tool. Okay, so now it's going to install. So I didn't install ALM plugin. Is there any other extendability stuff that I want? I don't think so. The results viewer is always really powerful, but I'm not gonna. I think that should have been installed by default. We know UFT should have been installed, so we can go and have a little look at that and see if we've got the latest, greatest installed on there. Okay, so let's go and have a look. So let's first fire up Visual Studio. Okay, Visual Studio 2017, which is what it detected. As you see here, we now have the UFT developer tab. Again, it's wanting local access, which is fine. UFT runtime engine active using port 5095. Okay, that's fine with me. It's also got Node.js from before. So here we've got the tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project, and that project is going to be a test one. So you should see here we've got UFT application model project, MS test, NUnit project, a Selenium combined with MS test, and NUnit 4.3 and NUnit. So I'm going to use MS test because it's just so much easier. Pick which .NET framework you want. I'm not going to set it to source control, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of what this is doing and how you can inspect objects with this. So as we see, we've now got what is just the basic classes and stuff that we need. So it's got the OpenQA Selenium libraries, which are at the top. It's also got the LeanFT Selenium stuff. And on the right hand side, which you can't see because I'm in the way, let me just make this small, you've got the actual solution package, and we can see under here this is the C# project with all the methods that we can see here on the left hand side. We also have some configuration components here. So the first thing what we can do with UFT is there's two things. There's a test recorder, which is fine. Launch a UFT mobile device. It's maybe worth a go. We'll see what happens with that in a second. I'm guessing it's going to try and connect to Mobile Center, which is now called UFT Mobile. Yeah, error while loading device selection. Okay, so never mind about that. So we're going to use the object identification, which was the GUI SPY back in the day. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of the objects that we're potentially wanting to see. So I guess the first thing is it's worth kind of saying, okay, well, what can we actually see? Well, you can see here, we can actually see the Windows platform. So something which, again, is a challenge when it comes to using Selenium because it doesn't support it. So here you can see it's got the address, which is the text which is extracted from there, which is true. Some location details, is it visible, blah blah blah, seems fine to me. Obviously the easiest example for this would be something like calculator, which I know people would say, well, it's probably the easiest thing, but if I go into something like energy, okay, so first of all I'm going to go and search for something again. I want to look at something within the calculator, and again you can see it's a Windows UI core item. You can see the location, it's a calculator, so it's forth pretty straightforwards. Let's have a little look at the notepad that we pasted my URL in. So I'm sure this will be easy enough to get. Okay, have we got an absolute location on it? We got the text in there. We can see what the text is. Now, of course, we could copy this out so we could generate the code that would select, use this as a to validate that there's safe paths at that location. But I think we're going to go a little bit further. So what we'll do is we'll have a look. First of all, I guess we can have a look at the Micro Focus website and see how automation ready that is. You can see as I'm hovering, there's standard UI objects, and we can't really see much in here. So to me, that is because it's not able to support the version which we're looking at. So the easiest way would be to use something like Firefox or Chrome. I'm just going to go to eBay just to make it easy. So I'm now got Firefox Developer loaded, and I'm going to have a quick look again. Can we see anything in Firefox? Well, we can see the box again with which is popping up, telling us what's new. But can we see the actual hooks into here? No, we can't. So again, we need to have a look at whether or not there's any plugins that we need to have to support this browser, and also if it's not. So here we go. There's the agent. Do you want to enable the agent? Yes, I do. You can see now that is enabled. Manage your add-ons by clicking on here. Yep, fine. Now that we've got that hook installed, we should be able to see more data. So here we can now see the add-on manager. Let's now go back to eBay. Should really do a restart on the browser before we try and do anything else, but it seems to be working. I'm now able to click on the elements. Sometimes what you find is that if this isn't in full screen, that the elements can be a bit offline. So as you saw there, my search is kind of coming up as that is the search for anything. I'll give it a restart and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we definitely know we've got the right plugin. Also, you need to make sure you're checking the version to see if it is the right version, which is supported. Congratulations, you now have Firefox thingy. Okay, so UFT developer feature, blah blah. Okay, so I was installing the AI stuff, and it's told me that actually it can't do it because I'm using the LeanFT aspect, or UFT developer. That's fine. We'll reinstall that in a second. Let's see how far we've got down this mobile add-in. 1.4 gig, still going. Okay, so let's try automating this platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the recorder on here. And I know people say don't use the recorder but it's good as to create a skeleton. So I'm just going to Uft Test Recorder. Now the recorder will obviously hook into a particular version of what I'm interacting with. So I'm going to start recording. You can see that's at the top of the screen. And then I'm going to paste and go into here. Navigate to COVID safe path. So straight away it's already got captured two values. So first of all, I'm going to do the location viewer scrubber. Click on the location viewer scrubber, and you can see we're looking at MIT now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a file. So straight away we're now out of something which is the normal landscape of something like Selenium, because it can't deal with things like this. But let's just get the reacted tool. And straight away it says run a set method from web file, which it obviously knows. And now we've got all sorts of things. So first of all, I can delete things. Again, this would be a challenge with the normal just application, because you can't really deal with things like maps very well. So we'll see how well this goes. But so we're going to just click on that one. Click on web element. I'm going to delete that. Deleted the element, and then I'm going to save this out. So I'm going to save it as a file. Click the save button. Done. So that's me doing the activity. As far as I'm concerned, that's completed. So I can maybe just click stop would be the easiest way. So we've got some basic steps that we're doing. We can replay these ones now. So if I click play, let's see how far it gets. So I'll come back to the main start, which is stop. And for some reason it's added that one in. Delete that item. Click delete. Okay. That was resume and not play. That was a schoolboy error. Okay, so now we're going to exit without copying to the page. No, we're going to generate the code. Okay, so the recording summary was completed. I can now close this. Okay, so it's got that code which it's exported out into a text file. I can open that up now. That'd be easier just to do a okay, so they were the steps that we did. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this down while we're loading the AI tool. Close this window down as well. Nearly there for the installer. Load the AI tool on. I'm going to use the proper setup wizard this time. No MSIs that needed to be installed. Accept. Codeless testing engine. Yep. Okay. So this should be nice and quick. And then what we can do is I can show you what happens with the Micro Focus UFT AI. What you get is it's using computer vision to look at the objects. So it uses IBT technologies, image-based technologies, instead of using what it uses with the DOM, so the domain object model. So obviously with the DOM, we were inspecting each one of those items. We needed hooks. With IBT, you don't need hooks. You can just use images. And then the way it learns is obviously it uses things like OCR, Tesseract, or whatever they've used to identify text. But at the same time, because it's learning, what it's doing is, say you're using a login page and the login page slightly changes, it understands there's just two values and that things evolve, and therefore it updates the model based on what it sees on the screen. So we've installed that now, and what we should have is a AI codeless testing tool. So we can launch that up. Let's give that a go and see how that copes with things. We've only got 15%, 2 more minutes to download the UFT mobile add-in. So we got the UFT. You can see here we can, again, it's going to give us a Windows security thing. Okay, so add an object, camera, checkbox, home, location. Well, location might be interesting. And as you can see here, you're creating the script without any application open, so you can literally go through and go, I want to open. So I'm guessing if I type in open here, or click, there's all, part of it add, you can go through and write these as you go. You can identify them by the spy tool again, so you can see there's the identified by properties, identified by AI, so there's dual mode so it can fall back on if need be. So again, it's asking us for a UFT mobile. This would have to be your mobile center connection, but you could in theory connect this to your local device, which I have tried and not done great on it. But you can see he's server addressed port 8080. It doesn't give you a username password by default, but when I use just the standard admin, it seemed to work. But obviously this is kind of one of the features of UFT to kind of take it to this direction. So anyway, so that's UFT AI, and I'll show you a little bit how that works when we're in the full version of UFT. So now we've got the mobile add-in for local device 3.3 installed. So let's downloaded. Let's hope that this supports 15.01. I know it used to work with 15.0 when it first came out. I'm going to open that folder. I'm going to export that, extract it. And as you see, it's installing out to this directory. Shouldn't take very long. Okay, install mobile add-in for local device, installer 125 meg. Wait for the rest of the components to do. It's installed. Right, now we can run this as administrator again. Mobile center. Let's see if my phones are still gone to sleep. No, still there. Okay, this is the same installer as they had before. So yeah, program files, I agree, next, continue. Service port 808, it's asking, do you want to install the SDK? I don't have Android installed on the Android Studio installed, so I'm going to let them use their own version, which is fine with me. So it's going to start hitting Java. It's going to install it to 8080 on the device. So JRE is coming down, so the Java runtime environment. You need to check that the UFT mobile service is started, or restart it sometimes if you get some problems. So just installing through there. And also, if localhost doesn't work, you're going to need to use that email, so that IP, so 127.0.0.1 or whatever it was. We'll just have to make sure what it is. You can see it's installed in Appium for Windows as well, which wasn't on this machine. Updating folders. Okay, congratulations. Now it's asking me to start the service, which is important. It needs to start up. You can also log into the actual web page and check that your devices are registered. And as you can see behind, we've got a Mac machine, which I use for re-signing certificates, which is partly very useful. So you need to make sure you've got access to some iOS Apple machine. Okay, so it's starting the service. Should only take a moment. And what we can do is we can actually browse into that port and see if we can get it local host 8080. Wait for that service to come up. Okay, so it says the service is up. Okay, so as you can see, it started up. Does this funny thing sometimes where it just flicks around. I think it's something to do with the login credentials and the browser that you're using. But let's move off here. I think it's probably only supported in no, it's still doing its crazy thing. let's leave that for the time being. So I've got my devices connected to it, and it's started up. So now we can have another go at UFT. You can see we got the stop, start, and restart features, which you will be using quite a lot. And we've also got our UFT. So load up UFT. May ask us to add in a different plugin. So just check. We've put mobile in there. We've got web. We've got UI automation. Great. Now, with a bit of luck, we should get a little green tick to say that UFT is communicating with UFT mobile. So if I go to Tools, Options, GUI Spy, we've got the AI is now active. We'll have to restart the client again, but that's installed. So you'll see the AI on the Spy tool. So AI is installed. That's great. Now you can see you've got AI there. Now we go back to options. We go to GUI testing, and we go to mobile. Connect to a local device, local host, 8080, success. Great. So now I'm going to give a go at creating a new test. That test is going to be a mobile test. So I'm just going to call it whatever it wants. Okay, so now is where it gets quite interesting, because what we're going to do is we're going to record, and when you record, it's going to ask you what you're going to record. Are you recording a browser? No. Are you going to record in a mobile? Yes. Use a local device. Now this is where it says which device can you actually see. Most likely you'll find the Android device, but you know there's an available applicable devices, one of one, iOS any. What other stuff do we need? Where do you want to launch it? Do you want to launch a system app? No, we're not going to run a browser or anything. We'll just run the home screen. Do we want the device metrics? No, I'm not going to ask it too much. Unexpected error. Okay, let's go back to the recorder. Okay, so we'll stop that for a second. Let's see if we can run record again. Okay, now I need to select a different device. So this is the problem with recording. You need to record and run settings, which gives you this setting scrub. So we had a one iOS. We have also a Huawei device, which should still be connected. Let's just check. It's there, so yep, I guess it should be connected. Okay, so let's give it a go with the Android device. Okay, so it's saying that the device is locked, which it could be because it's been plugged in for quite a while. So let me have a quick note look at what's going on with the device. Okay, so we've got 13.5, so this is probably not supported because this is 13.5 beta, so this may be a challenge to do, but obviously you can see that it's got the device connected. One device. What's new in 3.3? I do want to show that again because it is actually really useful. The user management, the default username and password seems to be QTP. So blast from the past. But yeah, at the moment we've only got one device in the map in here. So I'm going to have to re-plug in that iOS device. Now there is a process to adding a new device. So if you go to Device Labs, it comes up with this where it says, okay, I found an app, a phone, do you want me to sign it? So, you know, we've got one device here. You can see there's not much I can do with this one device apart from going back into those ones or connecting to it. so you can see you can download the dev access so you can access it. I'm going to connect a new device. It's an Android device, so I'm going to click on Android. Yep, I understand that. Okay, you should see a message, UFT service started. So you're going to have to bear with me for a second as I disappear to plug that device in. Okay, so I should have demoed on another device that actually you need to make sure that you're in developer mode and you also have this setting up. So first, that USB, use USB for charging. I've gone into settings, about phone, tapped it several times. Stay awake's enabled, so is USB debugging. I don't need to do that, neither to do GPS. Okay, so congratulations, you can now use your other device. So in theory, we should see another device coming up here the next time that I plug it in. So I'm going to give it another plug. Let's see if we can get this. We've obviously got this device, right? You also can package your applications as well. So I have if you've got your IPK or your other file, you can auto sign that, which is really useful. Agent apps, you can provision your agent onto here. Okay, so it keeps on picking up this one. Let's give it one more go to see if we can get the device working. Otherwise, we will give it a. We'll move on to the next example. So it's still running a recorded test, which we don't want. Suddenly automated UFT mobile system. Okay. Okay, so let's give it another chance with the. You can see the app loading up. What I may do is just add another phone to the device, as I have quite a few. Okay, so I've unplugged my iOS device, which is now here. As we can see from the iOS device, that it's running on 13.5, and I've got a beta profile plugged into the phone. So to help see that, I'm going to plug it into this Mac machine so you can see it loaded up. Okay, so that should be plugged in. I just need to trust it. Put the password in. Okay, so now we should have another device on here. So if I just do a refresh, what we should get is a new Android device. So this Android device is available. Obviously the Apple one has been disconnected. So now that we've got the Android device on, let's go and launch again. Uft Mobile. So we've been going an hour. So the question is, within an hour, can we get mobile testing running? And that will be the magical question. Okay, let's give it a new one. So we're file, new test. GUI test, yep. Okay, new test. We're going to obviously do the record with record and run settings. Mobile, local device. We're picking an Android device. We don't care what the one is. We want the standard home screen, which is fine. So let's give that a go. Okay, so what we should get. Oh, I'm going to click record. My bad. So now it should spin up the local device. So now we can see the mobile app. So now we can control that. We'll see we're recording. So what I'm going to do is click on the start button, which is the burgery button, and then I've just search apps is the next one, and we're going to look for the COVID safe paths. App. Which is recommending to go and look in the Play Store. So yeah, that's fine with me. You can see all the debug information here. We're working on finding apps in your area. So I need to go to the App Store. So we'll just go back to the start again. Go to the Play Store. Found it now. Obviously these steps you wouldn't want to include in your so it's installing the SafePaths app, so 37% off thing. So we've got the control panel running with the app. We can see things like what's the latency, so how many times does this refresh, what's the zoom. We can look at device metrics and device intros. There's things like if we'd have turned on CPU memory, we could look at how that's performing. There's other things you can do. Obviously lock the screen. We can send that one to the background. We can simulate an incoming phone call or a text message, and we can also do the GPS location, which is obviously going to be important when we're testing this application. So we've got, let me just have a quick look. So if I go into this phone, I've got the same app on here, but there's a few things. First of all, we want to be able to, based on the new functions, if we go into here, we should be able to do the COVID tracker. So here we have the COVID exposure notification, which is privacy.health. So privacy.health, then so if I go to on here privacy, then I go down to my health function, which should be in here, which seems to be decided to be in a hidden way of doing it. So I'll try it again. COVID health exposure. Let me load the health app up first. So we've now got all these options. We've also got the exposure history. So you can see there the exposure history is on there. So I've enabled that on the beta version. It's installing the safe paths on here. We did manage to do it in just under an hour, which is good. And you can see on the left hand side we've also captured stuff. So what I want to do now, obviously up to here, is just set up. So now that I can setup's complete, I can click open. We now got the COVID Safe Paths app launching, and this device is obviously is docked in one of my machines. So okay, so now the first time we're going to do the onboarding thing. So get scenario should be the first one. Accept terms and conditions. It should show that we've checked the button. Then we click continue. Get notified if you cross paths with somebody later for diagnosis. Yep. And next again. Set up my phone. Do you remember where you go? Yep. Do you want to give it location access? I do. So, yep. There's a skip my step this now. Location access completed. Click on finish. Okay. No contact, no. So we've got information in here. I can now go through and go into my menu and change all the other settings. So location is active, languages English, and then it should be Haiti's is the only other language which we're rolling out at the moment. If I just drop down that box, nothing. Okay, so choose health authority. That's the next option. I think this is the actual device being slow, but you can see, or it might have even crashed, which is good because we want crashes. That's the whole point of doing it. But you can see here we've also got the override buttons for the menus and stuff. Okay, so I've clicked the menu, but I don't need to. So I'm going to add a trusted source. Choose health authority came up. I tapped English. No source yet. Let's see, added trusted source. Give it a bit of set time because the round trip is going to be going through back to the device and then coming back out. I think we'll go up to there anyway. So let's stop this. Stop the recording. So stop the recording. And what I need to do is I just need to get rid of some of these steps. So obviously we don't need the Google Play Store. Well, actually, we can do the we could launch it from the Play Store if we wanted to. We would just have to start with the open, and then it would go all the way down here. We don't care about the click in English. We do want to do that, and we're not going to select an object. So now the onboarding process isn't going to happen, so we don't need, it's just going to come straight into the mobile app because it's a brand new app. So all of those ones could just be commented out. I'm just going to copy them out just for the time being. So because now this mobile app is at a certain stage, I'm just going to close this app down so we doesn't have the app loaded. So we can get rid of that. Oh, it really doesn't want to get rid of it. I'll just kill everything then. Not. Let's try and do it from just the start then. Okay, record again. So now the app's installed. We're going to first click home, which brings it back. For some reason, it's my device playing up there. Okay, so now we can go into here. We can search apps. Now click on the search Safe Paths app. Okay, we can see where we resume from. So really what we need to do is be able to kill that off. So anyway, I'm not going to try replaying it because I think it's just going to die, but let me just try some other things. So first of all, it is a location application, so you can simulate the GPS location, which is where you're sharing your location data, would come in really handy. The next thing is you can simulate a call. So make up a number, and that call will come through, and as that comes through, obviously this app will close, or will go to the foreground, and then we'll have to resume the app afterwards. You can also simulate a message coming through. And that would then pop up in the display section. But for the time being, we're just going to quit out of this record mode. As you see, it's just running OCR now on against everything, which it did. And now it would be easier for us to recognize stuff. So let me just close it down. Right. So you can see we did the OCR. It also now has everything here on there. So if I put in location, it would look for the text within that screen. And obviously it would find location as an element. It finds an element and also the text value. Perfect. Right. So that was our example of using it with the mobile side of things. Now we can just have a little go at the AI identification view. So we've closed down the mobile app, which is going to be a bit of a challenge. So we need to select what we're going to use, a browser or a mobile device. Okay, so we need to get that mobile view back up. So we need the mobile device, window, view. So let's have a look. Do we have to be in recording, or can we just? Well, it's recording still, but let's just do that again. Record. Okay, so it's now going to reconnect to the device. So we want to use some OCR, and we also want to recognize some text. So let's hit the AI button again. So it's importing the mobile screen. Okay, identifying AI and elements. So visual edit or just text. So it's obviously, if we're looking at the text, it's identified all of these things, which I can now drag and drop into here. As you can see, it says AI utility find text. Obviously it's stuck itself over there, but if I put it along here, I could put that into here. AI utility find text block, choose health authority. If I move to a visual edit, it obviously has detected that this is a back button. So left triangle, which is detected as a left triangle, and it's also detected this as a combo box with the word English in it, which for some reason it's now got a thing. So, but now each one of these, it's using the visual or text elements to actually navigate through it. So let's just go into another page and see what you can find on here. So I'm going to go back, go into my AI. Device board is, I need to go back to AI, click on the mobile. And we get our first crash of the day, which isn't too bad. We've asked quite a lot of it so far, so I'm happy with that. Let me launch UFT1 again. Yes. Okay, so now what I really want to do is, I've done mobile. I now want to do that journey with the more difficult system, which is going to be the visual tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new recording again, new test. I could do just the posting of the JSON to an API test, but for this I'm just going to record. I'm going to not record on this, I'm going to record on a browser. I can pick which browser I want. I could actually use the UFT mobile browser, but I'm guessing that wouldn't be great. So I'm going to use, these are all the ones it's detected. Headless Chrome. Let's give Edge a go then. Do not run on recorded on open browsers. Close browser when finished. It's fine with me. Okay. So it's not got the installer for the web driver for Edge, so it's not going to load up Edge, I don't think, but we'll give it a go. Well, it's decided that it's happy to install it on a. Okay, I didn't really ask for that, but fine. Let's try again. My fault for not being. So I'm guessing it's always going to load up the device. Fine. So I'm going to do local browser. I'm going to do Firefox, because we know we've got Firefox. Let's give that a go. So I think it's going to open the Microsoft, the actual phone device, because it's still open. But now we've also got this demo app, which has come up, which is great. But for the time being, let's paste and go to this again. and it's not recording any objects here, which is strange, but we'll give it, see what happens when we go through this flow. Make sure it's working. Yeah, it is working. So first things first, we're just going to check if the add-ons are enabled. We would expect that they would be, but for some other reason the UFT enable agent is disabled, so we'll give that another go. So paste and go. Nothing there. Okay, let's close it down and start again. Stop. Fine. Record. This time we've got the plugin enabled. Thanks Firefox. So now when we go paste and go, it should, where is the little recording thing? Probably, yeah, just behind here, just to make it a bit easier for me to not see it. Move it along here. Okay, so it's telling you what have we got. Yeah, that's fine. So let's just make sure when we click on this that it actually picks up the item, which it doesn't. Let's have a look at the inspector. Well, it sees that, so I don't see any reason why it shouldn't do it. It must be because of the mobile app loading up as well. It's just getting confused. Tools, record, and we're not doing this mobile. We are doing this. We'll put this page in as well. Okay, so now we can go record. Oh, and GUI test 5. Right. It likes that, has no problem with the, and you can see the AI auto inspections running at the moment. Button was identified, drag and drop to the script. So this might mean that we can actually run the entire test from, if it's not going to do a UI mode, but from here. So let's see if we're going to get any of this. Default, capture, object spy, object repository, insert, checkpoint, synchronization point. No, it shouldn't need any of those. For some other reason it doesn't like Firefox. Oh, it does now. Great. So location scrubber, or not, has no problem with the backbone, has a problem with this location scrubber. So let's try using AI mode to actually solve this. Slight overkill, but why not? AI automation, no objects were inspected. Alright, so it says can't see any visual items, but you can definitely see text. Should be able to see this value. Fine block of text. Ooh, that's not very nice. Data intended. I don't know where we decided to pick that up from, but we'll let it off. Okay, let's see how good it is at dealing with scrolling. Okay, we've got quite a few values here. Let's so we got this value here, which I'm selected, 3.64. Someone's walking. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to get rid of everything which is travel. So we now just got locations where people live, or they've stayed for a large period of time, more than an hour, more than 15 minutes in one location. Okay, let's see what the AI engine thinks of all this then. Move it around a little bit. Okay, so what do you think of this? Well, it's found, in all fairness, it's found load, it's found save, it's found select. It has no idea what this is, which is fair enough. And it understands the text data, so it understands that this is a text string. And I guess it realised that this is zoom. So it's not done bad. Especially with the visual edit, it's obviously understood this with a certain amount of logic. It's not picked up this bar here, which is fine. It's identified the budget buttons. So all in all, it's not a bad effort. So what we've done in just over an hour is we've installed choose a different device. We've installed and got working Mobile Center. We've also managed to load the AI engine in the background to do things like find screen data, images, and also we've been able to use a combination of DOM recognizing for driving the browsers. So I think it's not a bad start to kind of give you an idea of how you can get UFT up and running. You can run against local devices. You can run against mobile apps, and also browser and Windows UI components for quite complex systems and applications. So I think that was a pretty good May the 4th be with you, and hopefully you've got some value in that. Obviously there's some nice long pauses in there, but I guess if it came down, we'd probably be talking an hour to get that up and running and done. So thanks so much for viewing, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your May the 4th.